Well, we had yet another presidential debate, the last one of this year, possibly of the whole primary cycle, although CNN is saying that apparently they're going to host two more in January. Um, but if we're looking at officially RNC sanctioned debates, then this is apparently the last one, as far as we know right now. And in a way, it did feel kind of like a finale, in the sense that I'd say it probably had the most entertainment value out of any of the ones we've had so far because let's look at our characters. You have the ever present but not present Trump, who Christie rightfully referred to as being like a Lord Voldemort character, he who should not be named. You have Christie himself, who's really just in the race to be the one person that goes after Trump, which caused him to get ignored for a solid almost half of a half hour into the debate. Like almost 20 minutes went by without them even addressing the fact that he was there. You have DeSantis, who was supposed to be this guy that would just take all of the non-Trump vote, consolidate it, and then roll over Trump, and that has not happened whatsoever. You have Ramaswamy, who got a big boost off of just praising and kissing Trump's backside incessantly, and now he can't even break 10 digits. He's completely fallen off. And you see these two teaming up against the one person on that stage, whether you like her or not, who has unquestionably been helped by these debates, by an increase in name recognition, Haley. And she had this line in there because they were attacking her over her donors, where she said that they were jealous that she was not getting the support of them. And I've said before, Citizens United is one of the most important laws in modern America because it allowed for these politicians to be purchased and have their positions on issues influenced by the people that would give them contributions for their campaigns. So Ramaswamy probably couldn't care less about that influence because he's a billionaire. But DeSantis definitely wanted Haley's donors. There's no question about that. This is a guy that thought the billionaires were going to get him over the top, and they have not been able to. And it was so fascinating watching him and Ramaswamy team up on her. There was a very heated exchange, and you know it's funny. This is actually the first of the four debates so far, and you know possibly the last one where we haven't seen a kind of like a back and forth between Haley and Ramaswamy. Like Ramaswamy attacked her, and she kind of just it's interesting. Like the way she responded to him was to kind of group him and DeSantis together, or like speak more in general about herself. Like for example, both DeSantis and Ramaswamy went over her for her desire to have social media hold people accountable by basically putting out their information when they post something. And she tried to pivot and say, I think if we had names there, it would stop cyberbullying and lewd images of children and whatnot. And, basically, we're kind of like trying to soft talk her way out of, like, modify her position to appear more acceptable for people that prefer the anonymity of the internet. But that's an example of how she gets attacked by Ramaswamy, and if this were just him by himself, she probably would respond directly to him. But because it's grouped with DeSantis, like they kind of have this unofficial alliance, she addresses both of them kind of like in a general sense. And speaking of alliances, I really was surprised with, because I know Christie had a bad exchange with Ramaswamy during the first debate where Ramaswamy basically copied Rand Paul's comments about Christie being an Obama hugger, which is like the goofiest insult I've ever seen. Like if I were to attend an event, or rather be the governor of a state, and then the president from the opposing party embraces me or touches me, I'm now a hugger of that. I'm a Trump hugger. But um, I just their exchange was so heated. He called him the most obnoxious blowhard in America, and how at every debate they try to confront him over something he said on the campaign trail, and he tries to avoid answering it. And he really, you know, it's so, because all these politicians talk trash about each other, but it's so rare to get two of them kind of like offer like a legitimate nice olive branch type of praise. And I'm not a fan of either one of them, but when Christie called out Ramaswamy for saying that his 3-year-old child could name the three provinces of Ukraine, whereas Haley would not be able to. Christie pointed out, you guys, you're basically insulting this woman's intelligence, and she's very accomplished. In like a general sense, I'm sure she's intelligent as far as she's been able to keep the various positions that she's had or manage them. No worse certainly than most of the other people that I would disagree with ideologically would be able to. So it was nice to see that type of civility, like some form of decency toward your fellow politician, someone that you've worked with or known for years. You don't really like the way they're being spoken about by their opponent, who very obviously is only saying this stuff so they can get some votes or hope to siphon off votes from them. Um, God, what a debate, man. I think that was one of the highlights because, and I've said this before, most Americans are probably not that geographically sound in the sense that a lot of times they don't even know where certain states are. And if they know the states, they don't know what cities are in them, right? Because they've never been over there. It's not of any like immediate urgency to them. So, of course, if you went and asked most Americans, even the ones that would say, in like a general sense, I guess we can help Ukraine, name 3 provinces over there, they probably wouldn't be able to tell you that. It doesn't mean that they're dumb or they're idiots. Like we don't there would be no circumstance where, as an American, you would just be informed of 3 provinces in Ukraine. It just wouldn't happen. Even if you were watching the news every day, they probably won't tell you, oh, in this part of Ukraine, this part, it's such a weird litmus test because it's like you're trying to say, oh, these people are not knowledgeable of the countries that they call themselves wanting to send your boys, or I guess the American soldiers, over to possibly die in the various conflicts of. My thing is, I agree with that because I'm anti intervention, certainly when it has nothing to do with us. But at the same time, it's like I think we should have better arguments than, oh, can you name parts of this other country? Because a lot of people can't. But it doesn't mean that they might not, that they're unable to say something or articulate a position that might be something you can see some feasibility to. I don't know. It my 3-year-old son could name the provinces. Like, well, yeah, your 3-year-old son can name them because you probably are, as someone who's running for president, talking about this over and over again. You probably have a map of Ukraine. I mean, it's just not a good, because he's at that point trying to say you guys are stupider than my, you know, infant child. Uh, which that's why I said this stuff just gets more and more personal. Like, because I think all of the people on that stage have bad positions on issues. Like I said for Christie, but like when he's not criticizing Trump, is actually a very right wing politician. He wants to cut Social Security. He calls it privatizing it, or just he's someone who I'm not a fan of. He was talking about tracking illegal immigrants, rather like FedEx packages, and I mean, where do we even get started on Haley? But in spite of that, I still think that at least when you're on a stage with these people, just like this person lacks the intellect. Come on. So there were some memorable moments. As far as if I think this is going to change or move the needle for any of the people involved, I can't see it happening. We're only 6 weeks away from Iowa. Trump still has a 20-point lead basically in every state, and in some states even higher. I know he's going to crush everyone in Nevada the way the last poll went. So what I'm predicting now, and I'm not going to make a separate video about this, I'm going to go for my thoughts. It looks like Trump is going to possibly win every single state. Like in Iowa, he'll come in first place. Maybe Haley will be second, or DeSantis will be second. One of those two are going to be second or third. They're going to switch places or be in the same place. And then New Hampshire, it'll probably be Trump, Haley, Christie. And then Christie will drop out after that because then he's like, okay, I just wasted my time. And then in Nevada, Trump will win, and then after that, he'll just cruise to the nomination. But that actually reminds me of something else that during Christie's exchange with Ramaswamy actually brought up as foreign policy experience, the old Bridgegate scandal, where Christie was alleged to have closed down the bridge to get payback on the mayor for not endorsing him for his reelection campaign. It's like, wow, I remember when that happened. That was hard to believe, almost 10 years ago. And he told him to walk off stage and get the hell of this race. Which, like I said, the language, man, on these people just gets more and more aggressive. But really, Ramaswamy, I don't think is in any position to tell Christie to get out of the race, because at least Christie can say he's in third in New Hampshire, or if not third, then certainly inching towards third, like he's just barely behind someone like Haley or a little bit over DeSantis. Ramaswamy's really not doing that much better than him, and the reason for that is simple. Why go with Trump light, which is what basically everyone in this race is on a policy level, but especially when you're talking about rhetoric, Ramaswamy is the most Trump light, when you can go with Trump major. Like, why go with Trump minor? We can go with Trump major. Like, why would anyone pick people who are of almost identical views on every matter, like DeSantis, like Ramaswamy, arguably like Haley as well, when they can just go with the person that they like the most, clearly, with the 80-something% approval rating. So I don't think he had any right to say that. I think his I could actually, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna predict who's gonna drop out first. I think the one that would make the most sense to get out would probably be you could argue Ramaswamy, because I can't think of any state where he's doing good in. Like, Haley is not going to win, but she's been increasing and is in either second and third in every poll I've seen for all of at least all of the major early voting states. I just think this wasn't a last ditch effort by Ramaswamy and DeSantis to get some fuel for their fledgling their crashing campaigns, and I don't think it worked. I think Haley's going to be untouched. She's not going to win the actual primary, but she'll stay at about the same amount, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower, about the same. And everyone else will too. I think this race is basically over. That these next couple of weeks are just an exercise in formality. And unless we get some big, huge shock where anyone that's not Trump manages to get in first place in one of these states, we're looking at Trump becoming the first Republican nominee in U.S. history to get nominated in three elections back to back, and potentially the first rematch between two major party candidates since, was it 1956, with Eisenhower and Stevenson. So I'm not looking forward to that thing happening, but it looks like it's gonna come true, and I just be ready for it. The 2024 is the rematch of 2020.